Okay, it should be live. I'm just gonna wait a moment as always to make sure things are working properly. Before I get started here. Okay, looks good. Let me know if there are any issues. Alright, hello everyone. For once I'm not uber tired. I got a fair amount of sleep. Still not 8 hours, but a fair amount. Hold on. I just remembered. I found out last time I need to scoot forward because the mouse tracking doesn't work unless I'm pretty close. There we go. You should be able to see my mouth moving now. Alright. So here's my list for today. And then I did say after the last stream that after I finish this I would probably have a playtest soon. That is probably not gonna happen super soon because I've got so much stuff going on this weekend. I have a tournament, like an VR esports tournament that I've got to compete in today and tomorrow. So I'm a bit busy, and then I also have a bunch of other stuff I gotta work on. So I probably won't do the playtest super soon. I don't know when I will do it. It'll probably be sometime, I don't know. The problem is that right now I'm working from Monday to Thursday, which means that I can't do it in the peak hours on most weekdays. Maybe I might slide it in on next Friday. I'll have to see. Anyways, what do I use for my avatar? It's MediaPipe and Pygame. Yeah, I see all the highs in there. Hello, everyone. Yeah. So the first thing here is to improve the eye spawns, which would be over in my entities thing on the server side. Just like calculated down here. Tick. Wait, no, not tick. Where did I spawn them? Oh no, it's not in entities, it's in events. This is where I decide to spawn them. So I need to rework this logic to make sense. Oh, actually I forgot. I do need to probably show you guys what the game looks like, because there are a lot of people that come in at the beginning of the stream and they don't know what I'm working on. So I'm gonna go into my server here. I just missed my password. Give me a moment. I fat fingered my keyboard, which is not unusual. Okay, you probably heard the Windows sound there. Wait, what? Where am I? No, that's not right. Man. You probably heard the Windows sound again. I need to stop tabbing because that's making the noise. I think it's this. Nope, not that. Hold on, almost there. I may be more awake than usual, but apparently I can't type yet. It's probably because I'm sitting so far forward compared to normal. I'm not used to sitting this far forward, so I'm hitting the wrong buttons. Anyways, the stuff should be up, so I should be able to connect like this. And you guys should be able to see the game. Alright. So, right now, I have inventory with items and everything, and combat. I can run around. Actually, I'll grab that. Who knows, maybe it'll be useful later. At the moment, it has zero purpose other than to just sit in your inventory. So I can run around in the world and stuff, and then I can warp to different worlds, which I won't show you because it'll take a bit to get there where I can warp. So my objective here is that eyeball I killed earlier, I need to change how those spawn, because it gets very hectic very fast because of the way these things are spawning, and then they don't despawn really. So these things, they'll just keep popping up and it'll get a bit too messy. So that needs to be fixed. I want it to be proportional to your depth, so as you go deeper, more of them spawn. And then I also want them to be able to despawn if you go far enough away. So that shouldn't be too hard to despawn them. I just look for the nearest player, and then depth is like each player, I guess, has a chance of spawning them, and it depends on how far down you are, which works nicely in terms of difficulty if you're playing with friends, because it'll spawn them proportionally to how many people you have if I do it per person. Maybe I'll do something. So there'll also probably be a thing where it's like, if there are a bunch of people in the world, less enemies will spawn, because I'll probably have like a declining spawn rate depending on how many entities have been spawned in the world. So there'll probably be like a soft cap, so that not too many entities can spawn. And the more spawn, the less likely more are gonna spawn. So yeah, that's the plan. So I'm gonna read the chat real quick. You just started working on levels for your first commercial game. That is the part that I don't like about game development, is the level editing. So I did so much of that for Super Potato Bruh, and that was actually the last thing I did. So but I did so much of that for Super Potato Bruh, and then I just I was kind of burned out by the end of it. And it wasn't even that much, because I made the game in like 100 hours, but like maybe 60 of those hours were level editing, or maybe no, I wouldn't say 60. It's probably less, because I made I made like 50 levels, so I think I spent 30 minutes per level, so I spent what, 25 hours, so which is a fair amount. You're plotting primes. I don't know what Sprawl's supposed to be using Turtle. I've actually never used Turtle. Oh, most people that get into programming or even Python will end up using Turtle at some point. I've never used it because I did not get into it through the school system. But if you get into programming through schools, a lot of times they'll have you use Turtle for stuff. Why are you saying I should use Pygame or Unity? What? I am using Pygame. Oh, you're saying you. Never mind. I missed the I. It depends on what you want to do. I have videos about that. Alright. Almost caught up. You're trying to make a ragdoll for a VTuber. Okay, hold on. You mean like you're selling it to a VTuber and they just happen to be a VTuber? Or are you saying the VTuber is supposed to be a ragdoll? Anyways, so ragdolls, depending on your scope, they're not super hard to do. So okay, with I know for 2D you can do ragdoll super easily. If you look in my cloth video, you basically just do that. It's Verlet integration. You just make a bunch of points, connect them with sticks, and then they act as restraints on the motion of the points, but the points can kind of move freely. And then when you do that, you end up with a ragdoll. So you can do it with pretty much whatever you want. It's one of the simpler physics things to do. Although there is the issue of self-collision, I guess, because if you want self-collision, so like if you want the arm of something to collide with the leg, it's going to get more complicated. So for that, I would say you would probably want to use an engine. There are, if you don't want to use a game engine, there are physics libraries as well that will get the job done. So there are multiple options there, and it all depends on what you're trying to do. Is hard coding an option for 2D levels? I would say no. I mean, it's technically an option. I wouldn't recommend it. There's a ton of other things that are way better than doing that. If you look at some of my games, I even used MS Paint. Like, you can draw maps with MS Paint and load them into your game pretty much. That even is a lot better than doing it in text. And I really need to burp. Oh, you're saying the prime spiral? Is that because you're mapping... The prime spiral is something you see when you map integers to rotations in radians, because there's only like slightly over 3 integers in a full rotation, and because of that extra offset from the 0.14, 15, etc., it slowly rotates. That's where the spiral comes from. It doesn't come from the primes, I think. You can do it with any number, and I think you see that of spiral. Yes, I do think Pygame's good for game development. It depends on, for example, in my case, I work a lot faster with Pygame, so it's much preferable to a game engine, because I can just work faster. But it all depends. I thought it's the new VB8. What is VB8? Is the game gonna be released for free? If I release this, it's gonna be free because it's an online game. Any online game I make, like online multiplayer game I make that's meant to be purely multiplayer, is gonna be free. Probably at least. Anyways, time to get to work on the stuff. So I have to update this, and I have to put in the conditions I mentioned. Alright, so this is actually per player it attempts to spawn already. So this is the spawn chance. So all I have to do here is modify this to change the odds of something spawning, because because the rest of this is mostly good. So I need to change this chance to reflect the depth of the player. So there's a couple ways to do this, but it's going to depend on the maximum depth, I guess. So I'm trying to think of how to do this, because if I go, I think I have a world generation thing in here somewhere. It's like not overworld. Where did I put it? Is it world? Lighting tile map world gen. Do I say in here what the depth is, or is that passed in? Dimensions, okay. So it's passed in, so I'm looking for world gen right here, cycle gen map. And then this takes world size, which is 200 by 800, and then 800 by the tile size should be the maximum depth. So I need to find the 800. Well, or not the 800. I need to find the tile size. Oh, it's right here. So it's misconstant, so which is right here. Tile size is 18. That's a weird tile size. But I am well known for my weird tile sizes. I've even had like non-square tile sizes. So we've got 800 by 18. So we just go 800 by 18. And this is the number of pixels tall a world can be. So what I'm going to do is go over into events here and say player depth equals player, hold up. There's got to be a way to get the current position in here, right? I would think so. Wait. Oh, I do. It's a stop position. So I take that and then divide it by 800 by 18, and then I'm going to cap this at 1. So take a min of that to 1. So that's going to be a ratio, kind of. So I'm thinking, I think for now, I can have it linearly, where the spawn rate increases linearly as you go down. So let's see. Because I want the spawn area to be pretty safe. But and then it gets really hectic as you go down. Later on, though, I think I'm going to have to kind of have a 2-tiered system where once you get... Wait a second, actually, I can do this right now. I wanted to split it up so it gets way more intense once you go below halfway. So, what I can do for that... I need to go into the world gen and then see where it places the I don't know if it's actually at the halfway point or what. There's a section, if you've seen my previous streams, that I call a hub, where you can warp to other worlds. And I want it to be, if you go below that, that gets pretty dangerous, pretty much. So, for that, let's go over to the world gen. So in here, it places, here we go. Oh, the hub's only placed a third down. So I think I'll say at 0.4. Okay, so 0.15 to 0.4 is going to be one scale, and then I would say let's go with so if you saw that, I'm going to do player, or no, depth, what should I call this? The depth rate or whatever. It'll start at 0 if player depth is greater than 0.15. It'll be depth rate equals player depth, and then we need else if player depth is greater than, or no, it's just else, or no, not else, if player depth is greater than, I think I said 0.4, depth rate equals player depth by 2. So that'll double the spawn chances. So now right over here, I can multiply this by the depth rate. And then I'm actually going to cut this back to something like that. So that's already a 5 times multiplier on this, but it'll be negated kind of by the spawn rate affected by depth. But the next thing I had to add, the next thing I have to add to this chance is the I guess the chances of things spawning. I need to get that reduced. So let's see. Right now it's not looking at how many people are in the world, so I gotta do I gotta grab the same world the player's in, and let's do player.world and then self.pt. Where's player tracker? So in here I can grab the players in the same world with, where it's somewhere in here, down here, world players, and then I drop that in, and player count equals the length of that, and then I can be like, so somehow from the player count I need to derive some sort of equation to represent the spawn chance based on well, I need to derive it from the player count. It needs to drop down as you get more entities, but it needs to be proportional to the number of players. So Let's see here. I didn't think this out before stream, so I have to think about it a bit. Let's do. I could do a hard cap pretty easily by just like checking if it's less than like player count by 10 or something, but I want it to be more of a gradient. So what I can do is I can take this count, and this could be a hard cap. 10 entities per player is a lot, but what I can do is you take take 1 minus that, and you say, well, this number goes down. Actually, no, it should be player count by 10 minus the entity count, which is actually something I forgot to grab. So, entity count. I need to figure out how many entities are in that world. I don't know if it's sorted like that. Let's see. Hopefully it's by world. Uh-oh. Oh no, this is by world. Okay. So you grab the entities, and then I guess you pass on the world. Is that how this works? Yeah, it is. But this doesn't include it. Like, this includes things that aren't entities. This includes things that aren't enemies, I think. So, is there an update here? Yes, there's a, okay, self.world enemy counts equals that. So I'll use this to get the calculation here. So whatever something spawns, I guess, if that doesn't exist, self.world enemy counts world equals 1, because if the world doesn't exist, that means it's the first entity in the world. And then over here, for world in self.world entity enemy counts, self.world enemy counts. Actually, no, there's an easier. Here's the fun way to do this. You do a list or a dictionary comprehension. You take this, and then you do boop 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 world 0. There we go. That's a dictionary comprehension. So this resets all the values to 0 for the counts, and then as you go through here, so this is actually going by world. So all I have to do is go, if the group is enemy, which includes eyeballs, self.world enemy counts, and then we take the world plus equals 1, and then that'll add to our count here, and then we can grab that count for use here. So we go, I have to get the entities, so self.entities .world enemy counts player.world. So the reason I did it like that is because I don't want to recalculate it in here for every single player, because that gets slow. So I want to pre-calculate it every single time the entities are processed. So this will be essentially, I'm going to multiply this by 10, or let's put a constant in here and say enemies per player equals 10, and then we can say enemies per player, and this will give us a number from like well, the intent will be that it's a number from 0 to 1, because if you're multiplying this into here, if you have 0, nothing else will spawn, so it shouldn't go below 0 really. Alright, okay, I'm gonna read the chat real quick. Wait, you heard Python 3.11 has 10 to 60% speed improvements? That's pretty big. Well, I guess 10 is not huge, but that's pretty big. So something interesting is if you look at the performance difference between JavaScript and Python. JavaScript is significantly faster than Python. Even though if you look at like a lot of things in JavaScript, traditionally the compiled languages are statically typed, and Python is dynamically typed, and then JavaScript is the extreme of dynamically typed, where just everything kind of goes and it doesn't even raise errors and stuff like that. So you'd kind of think it would be slower, but believe it or not, it's actually faster than Python. I think part of that's like the implementation. I think there's also just like a huge push for JavaScript to be performant because it's running so heavily in web browsers. So I'd imagine it's possible for Python to get it quite a bit faster. I guess they're working on that, which is cool to see. Alright. You meant Vagrant? Okay, so, well, this was a long time ago that someone said this, but they were talking about they're asking if the games were going to be released for free. Vagrant is not going to be released for free. That one is planned to cost money. Yeah. So the application name has idle for some reason. What are you talking about? Use NVim or NeoVim. It's better than idle. What? I'm not using idle. Or you're talking to the other guy. NeoVim's not particularly user friendly. I'm not trying to show how many players are currently online. I'm trying to modify spawn rates for enemies. You have a cool suggestion for me? Make it so my MMO has some kind of player versus player? No, because the networking is not written for that. Grinding for the orb of shadows. What? Or blade of the what are you talking about? I don't know what game that's referenced to. Believe it or not, I haven't played that many MMOs. I make a lot of things that I haven't played a lot of. So I make platformers. I barely play platformers. I'm making an MMO style game right now. I haven't really played that many MMOs. But I'm actually kind of taking from the thing I'm working on is a cross of Terraria, No Man's Sky, and Minecraft, without an emphasis on building. So that cross comes into play with how the world is structured, pretty much, more so than the actual gameplay. The gameplay is going to be more RPG-ish. Your professor says at the end of the day you will code in VS Code at your workplace. That's not necessarily true. My my bosses use NeoVim actually. I'm using VS Code there, but there are circumstances where I do end up using NeoVim for some stuff. Like I've mentioned this before, I mainly end up using it when I'm SSH into another machine and working through a terminal. So it's convenient then, but otherwise I prefer a full IDE. You actually learned Lua just to customize NeoVim like Atom? Interesting. You don't have to use your mouse to move when programming. I mean, you can use your keyboard. You got page up, you got page down, you got arrow keys. I use home and N a ton when I'm typing. Alright. Back to this. So we've got our this thing, which is a number that like represents, like, it goes up the higher our spawn chances based on how many enemies have already spawned. So let's do this enemy count effect equals this. So this number can become negative. If it becomes negative, then the spawn rate just drops off hard. But let's see here. So now that I'm thinking about this, this is actually not, this doesn't go to 1. This goes to player count times enemies per player. So what I have to do here is I need to divide it by this number to scale this down to 1, otherwise it's gonna become kind of insane. Or, maybe I'll scale it down to this, because you do want more enemy, like you want enemies to spawn faster if there's more players when there's no enemies spawned yet. So I think I'm just gonna do the enemies per player, scale it down. So this could be any number, like if you got 100 players in one world, it can go up to 100. So I'm gonna keep that with just dividing it by the enemies per player, so that if I set the max higher, it doesn't like ramp up the spawn rate massively. Anyways, I think this is maybe good. So this is going to be something that's difficult to fully test. I'm just going to start up the client here, sit in the spawn for a little bit. I shouldn't really see anything in the spawn, because if you remember, the spawn is at 0.1 downwards through the, okay. Interesting. Oh, that's why I didn't send the new code over to the server. So I need the PowerShell, and I'm gonna need to send desktop active cavers SCP server, or no, it's -r server to my website. Something like that. And then I send that all over, and then I killed the oopsie. I Control-C'd in the wrong thing. So I restart the server, and then hopefully I have my new code and no enemies should spawn in the starting area. I get an error, let's go. None type is okay. So so none type is not subscriptable. I got that on line 16 in events, I believe. So right here, it did not like this. So position is not defined, which I guess that's a thing. So if I go to player tracker, I bet it just says position equals none. Where is position? Is it a property? Okay. So if there's no position given yet by the player, it'll get that error. So to fix that, all I have to do is go if player.position. So if it doesn't have a position, I shouldn't be trying to spawn stuff. And actually, I did have this check down here apparently, but now that needs to be moved up. So let's resend over the code. I have to look under my microphone to see my right monitor. That's not the password. There we go. Okay, restart the server. And then I can connect. I sound a lot like Tim Henson from Polyphia. I have no idea what either of those things. Well, I don't know who that is, and I don't know what Polyphia is. Anyways, I should not have anything spawn around me right here. Not until I go a bit further down. So I should be able to just sit here and nothing spawns. So for now I'm just going to read the chat, since my job here is to actually just wait for once. Alright. I should try to use. I know what Raylib is. And I did look into it. It has some problems though. You find it easy to use some Pygame's weird surfaces? Actually, no, I disagree with that. It's gonna be different because Raylib, I believe, is OpenGL based. So it has some overhead in communicating with the GPU. So things end up being a bit more verbose, and that's a huge downside for me. So I don't like that. There's also there are some things that Pygame's actually more performant at. Specifically, a large amount of small particles is where Pygame outperforms Raylib. Now, if you wrote those particles in shaders, Raylib would probably be faster, but I'm not. I wouldn't want to do that. It's kind of a pain. So yeah, I might make a video where I compare Raylib to Pygame at some point. I have looked into it a bit. How do you get better at Pygame? You just keep using it pretty much. The basics aren't that complicated, so make sure you learn those first and then just keep using it, and eventually you'll figure things out, as long as you're not just oh, I got an error. Okay, gotta fix this error. So yeah, but what I was saying is, eventually it'll just get better. You just gotta keep making things that are still challenging to you, and eventually you'll slowly get better and understand what you're doing. It's more of a thought process that you have to learn than Pygame itself. Anyways, I got a key error right here. So I need to do if the player's world is in the enemy count. So if player.world in self.pt. Wait, no. Self.entities.world enemy counts player.world. And wait, no, that's not right. I don't need this part. I just need the in. So if the player.world is in there, then I can do that. So this actually all needs to be indented too, because I can't do this unless I can get the enemy count effect. Anyways, I'll send that over. And I need like a better way just to upload my stuff to the server. I gotta type in my password a million times. I need to get the SSH keys. I know how to do it on Linux. I haven't gone through doing it on Windows. Alright. So now I just sit here again and make sure it doesn't crash, because I wasted a lot of time there because I didn't check to see if it crashed. Alright. Did I take work to Poland? I'm not sure what the question is there. I've never been to Poland. Do I have network interpolation for network objects? Yes. So for the players, yes. Well, okay. The interpolation is done on the client, and that goes for just about everything. The server doesn't just spam positions at the clients for every frame, usually, in most games. What it is the client interpolates, so I wouldn't say, like, you interpolate the network objects, but it's not interpolated on the network. Anyways, I do not do that for the enemies, because the enemy's motion is described kind of, it's described kind of as an equation with respect to time, rather than being done in increments. So because it's described as an equation with respect to time, I can just send over the information, like the constants for that equation. So like start positions and stuff like that, and like when, like the reference point for time. And because of that, I don't have to interpolate that. I can, it's already just smooth. The eyeballs, it's like they have a point they're orbiting around, and a time they started their orbit, and then an angle they started their orbit from. And then with that information, you can calculate on the client side where it should be visually, and then you can sync it across all other clients. And the way I have it set up for enemies is that movement is scheduled. And I schedule it about a second in advance, so as long as your ping is under a second, the server will be able to tell everyone when an enemy is gonna move, a fair amount of time before it actually moves. So, like everything gets synced up very nicely, which is good. The only thing that's a bit funky is the players, because believe it or not, the it just kind of shows the information as it gets it to some extent. So it has a buffer, and the buffer size for like how long it waits before it renders some specific position depends on how long it took the information to get there, and like what the average is, kind of something like that. So if someone's got really high ping, their stuff will show up later for everyone else. So every player's on a different, I guess, timing. So things do get a bit funky when it gets down to the players, but the enemies work very nicely, which works well because this is not meant to be a PvP game. This is meant to be a PvE. So the important part is that everyone sees the same positions for the enemies. So that is what I have. Also, if you notice, no eyeballs have spawned yet, which is a good sign. Theoretically, if I go down to... You know what I just noticed about the way I wrote this? The chances, even if I go far enough down for them to spawn, the chances are going to be very low that they spawn. I can probably go over here and sit here for a bit, and they will eventually spawn. But this is not quite ideal. I want to make it so that it adds like a constant value, I guess, once you get far enough down. So I can sit here, and theoretically an eyeball should eventually spawn. So I might have put the rates a little bit too low. Use client interpolation on your own game, however the entities seem to be jerking a little every time an update comes through from the server. Any ideas? So it's very important to make sure that the interpolating you're doing is you need to interpolate, like, well, there's a bunch of stuff you can be doing wrong there. Jerking could be a lot of things, but the technique you should be using is that you basically have a bunch of keyframes. Every position you get from the server is a keyframe, and you want to be, when you're interpolating, you need to have the data for 2 points. So if you're on the latest frame, you're not going to be able to progress at all. So you don't ever want to be on the latest position that the server gave you when you're interpolating. You want to be always working on old data, otherwise there's nothing to interpolate between. And then depending on how you're doing it, if you get that new data, it could cause a jerking motion because it suddenly realizes that it could have been, well, it could be interpolating, and it already has some progress, sort of. So yeah, you usually have the interpolation set in the past, and you want a fair amount of data in front of where you're interpolating in case there's any jitter in the time it takes for the data to get to the client. There are other solutions as well, but that's the easy one. Alright. Do I use coroutines? So when you're saying coroutines, if you're talking about like just asynchronous stuff in general, yes. I don't use actually coroutines. I use threading. I use the Python threading in the library. No eyeballs have spawned yet. That's a problem. What I'm going to do, I'm gonna print out the chances. Where's let's go over to, this is taking longer than intended to get right. So print, it seems like an awfully low number. So first of all, I'm gonna take this and be like, here, I'm gonna make this a constant. So this will be 1, and then this will be 2 plus depth, player depth, or 1.5 plus that, something like that. No, 1 plus that by 2 seems fair. So that will increase that number. Enemy count effect. This should be pretty low. So all I have to do here, print this out so I can get a good idea of my spawn rates. I have to look under my microphone again to send this data over. Okay, back to the game. Oh, you know, I just noticed I don't have my scene switcher on. It doesn't zoom in on the game for you guys. Here you go. So, things might spawn here. I don't know. I need to go a little bit. I'm gonna disconnect and reconnect. I don't know if that's good. I need to sit in the spawn, make sure things don't spawn again. You know what I just noticed? It's not printing anything out. That's bad. So, presumably it's not getting past this line. The world is not showing up. Oh, that's why. So if this is... if that's not there, so if that is there, you go... enemy count equals that, else enemy count equals 0. That's why. So this doesn't get filled in until the first time an enemy spawns. So that's what was happening there. No enemies spawn, so no more enemies could spawn. I'm actually gonna decrease the entities per player to like 5, because 10 is a lot. Actually, I'm gonna do 4 for now. These eyeballs are pretty oppressive. So, if this works, the next thing I'm gonna have to do is despawning. Because enemies need to be able to despawn if they've been there for a while, and, well, if they're far away from the player. Alright, so right now the chance of enemies spawning is 0. Presumably if I go far enough down, it should become not 0. So... somewhere around here. So it just went to 0.02. And it's just sitting there at 0.02, which sounds correct. So I'll stand here and wait to see how long it takes for something to spawn. And then I can read chat in the meantime. Oh boy, you guys put in a lot of messages here. Oh, something spawned. So, I mean, why did it crashed? Why did I write word? What line is that? Entities.py, line 137. Word. Word. Alright. Alright, I just noticed I've been doing that thing where I've been leaning back again. My natural position is to put my knees up on my desk and just kind of roll back in my chair, which is not good for the face tracking, as I mentioned before. All right, let's go back in the game. All right, so 0.0 spawn chance. I need to get a feel for what 0.02 feels like. Actually, rather than doing this, I could reference it with what I had before. All I have to do, pull up my GitHub here. You guys can see all my hidden repositories. Wow. So in here, I can find whatever the previous version of the spawn code was, and I can calculate what it was for per frame. So, before we had a spawn rate of 0.1 times DT. Right now it's 0.02, so it's 1/5 of that. Which, actually, I'm thinking that needs to go up a bit. It needs to be like 0.03 or 0.04 is my feeling. Because this rate will drop as more enemies spawn, and it'll drop pretty fast. So, I think that should be appropriate. Maybe 0.035 or something would be good. And something else I should probably change, I guess, is the maximum amount of enemies should probably vary based on which part of the world you're in. So right now I still have a spawn rate of 0.02. Wait, oh, that's because I didn't send the stuff to the server. I was just giving commentary there, and then because I was giving commentary, I just rubber ducked myself, and then or did some rubber duck debugging and noticed that there was actually a bug there. Alright, so theoretically it should say 0.04 instead of 0.02, which will double the spawn rates. But I do have to go down a fair amount before it'll show that. Alright, 0.02. So it should be able to spawn stuff now. Yeah. So I can read chat while I wait for stuff to spawn. You're trying to migrate from Python to C++ is the main thing you've been... Wait, what? You've been doing is game told me. So, C++ is, in my opinion, not the greatest for game development. The main reason you'd use C++ is if you're using Unreal is the main reason. Or if you're making your own engine. Or there's some 2D stuff you can do with C++. So C++ is not great for 2D because it with 2D stuff you can get away with things like Python. You could use C# or Java or whatever, or a game engine. There's just a lot of better options than C++. C++ is a lot of extra work. So generally speaking, like C++ on its own is not great. The main use case is if you're using Unreal, or if you're trying to build something that's performant from scratch. You've been hearing people say that object-oriented programming isn't always the greatest thing, so hopefully you're able to learn other programming methodologies such as data-oriented programming or aspect-oriented programming. I don't know what aspect-oriented programming is. Wait, hold up. Hold up. It's still saying 0.02. I was just staring at it and I wasn't... Oh, because I'm stupid. That's why. Okay. Regardless, I did not see anything. Part of that could maybe just be getting unlucky. Print spawned. And then actually while I'm here, I'm gonna do the thing where I'll double this if enemies per player equals enemies per player, and then enemies per player gets multiplied by 2, and then boop boop, and that should massively increase the spawning that should massively increase the spawns when I get far enough down. Man, why am I spending like 1 hour just trying to get the spawn rates right? This is not normal. I don't know. I guess it's the streaming effect. Part of the issue, I guess, is just that the spawn rates are supposed to be low. Okay, so we got one eyeball. Where is he? Get over here. He's going away. I can't get to him. So I can already see the spawn rates are down to 0.03 because something already spawned. So what I need to do... Oh, there he is. Maybe I'll kill it. Okay, it's like 1/3 health left. I can't actually get up there. Maybe I could like wall climb this if I could reach the wall. I don't think I can. Maybe it goes far, like maybe if I go far enough right I can find a wall to climb up, but okay, hold on. Did I kill it? Yeah, I did, because there's no more projectiles. And I can see on my server it says 0.04. So the spawn rates are back up. Alright. You don't care too much about what's what technique you use. You said with what's right is what works. That's what it should be with game development, kind of. I gotta kill this again. So these spawn rates are alright. I find this acceptable. So now I want to go down a bit further. But yeah, so in game development, typically, there's a saying, and I've mentioned this multiple times in other places. There's a saying, that, what is it? Oh, yeah, there are those that write good code, and then there are those that, finish games, or something along those lines. And it's because there's a lot of the people that try to write really good code when making games are the people that don't ever finish their stuff because they're too focused on writing good code. So like with games specifically, you just kind of have to go at it. Did my spawn rate drop when I went down? Or wait, no, I'm not far enough down yet, I don't think. Wait, this isn't the way. So this is where despawns would be useful because I can't see any enemy. They're, like, the spawn rate's already halved because there's no enemies near me. Sorry, it's already halved because there's 2 eyeballs that spawned, but they're nowhere near me, so I don't have to fight them. So those ones need to despawn. Alright. I can go down from here. Here we go. Spawn rate just massively increased. So theoretically, this is the half of the old spawn rate. So these eyeballs don't like really chase you too much. So they're not too dangerous actually. But I can see the spawn rate going down as these spawn. So this is working correctly. So now I just need to do despawns. So despawns are pretty easy. I just gotta go over into the entities. When these get ticked, I need to, for every entity, check the distance from the players. So I think I have something where it finds the nearest player. Self.pt.nearest player, yep. I can actually define this earlier. Just delete this line. Because I need to do this every frame. So just like right here, go nearest equals PT nearest player. There might be some other information in there, so it might tell me who the nearest player is or something like that, and I don't need that information, I just need the distance. So I need to check what this returns. Return nearest, which is going to be the player and the distance. So the second value is what I'm interested in. So I'm interested in nearest one. And then from here, I need to say if nearest one is greater than, I guess, despawn distance, then it needs to despawn. So let's give it a despawn distance. Despawn distance equals 0. Not 0. So this is in pixels, I believe. So, knocking over batteries on my desk. I've done this so many times in streams. Let's take the screen width is like 200 and something pixels. So let's say if you're 400 pixels away, maybe. I think the world was 14,000 pixels tall is what I said. Wasn't it 80 by... It was 80 by something. Oh, here, that's just 80 by... No, it was 18 by 800, so it was 18 by 800, like that. So it's 14,000 tall. So if our despawn distance is 400, we got 400 divided by 14. So despawn distance is about almost 3% of the world size, which, I mean, that's fair, I think. Maybe it's a bit small, but we'll see. So, if it's greater than despawn distance, then it needs to despawn. So for this, how do I kill it without... Well, first of all, I need to put everything else in else here, because it shouldn't run if the entity needs to despawn. So, right here, I need to figure out how to remove it. So part of the problem here is that I'm iterating over that. So I might need to have like a removal queue or something. There's a couple ways I can do this. I can go... Am I using ion here anywhere? I don't think so. If I'm not using ion anywhere in here, I can go do this. I can do enumerate. Wait, no, this is dot values, which means this is a dictionary. Wait, dot values, this doesn't count as iterating over the dictionary, I think. It returned an object that's an iterator instead of referencing the direct dictionary, which means I should be able to delete from it. So we do del, and then we pass in, I believe, whatever the ID is. So you can look at the spawn thing here. So you look at, it takes that. So the question is, where is this information in my entity? So equals edata. So actually, it's actually just under ID for the entity. So entity ID, and that should be it. Well, I do need to tell the other players that it was removed from the game. So for that, I can reference my server code over here. So kill normally is going to have like a visual effect, and maybe a sound, but I think if it's far enough away, it shouldn't be an issue that it would normally do that. The other option is to create some sort of thing for like deleting entities that isn't killing them. But because of the circumstances for despawning, I don't think that's an issue. I think I can use kill. So, I can just go to the players in the world, tell them to kill the entity. That will be over in entities. I do this and go, 4 player in, do I have PT? How am I getting players? How did I grab nearest? Yeah, it's self.pt. Self.pt, and then for the world, I have that as a variable right here. And then I can do self.pt.player, .q update kill entity ID, and this will be the entity ID. And that should do the trick, probably. So let's send that over. Kill the server, restart the server, and we're probably gonna get a crash for some dumb reason, and then and then I'm gonna have to fix it and do the whole thing over again. Alright, I have to go far enough down to let them spawn. So it's telling me I've got a 0 spawn rate still. Gotta keep going down. There we go. Spawn rate is up. So now I just wait for something to spawn. And then I can read chat while I wait. Oop works fine for most games you've made in Python, but you should look into ECS as well. ECS and OOP don't conflict. You can have both at the same time. In fact, usually the components are objects. Oh, it's something spawned. Nearest, okay. What is consider position supposed to be? What is this? Where is this coming from? Oh, I need the nearest player to... Okay. So this is not hard to just move up. That should have been moved up before because it was the same code in both spots. Sending this new code over. Alright. On the game. Alright. And then we go far enough down to let them spawn. Oh, that was fast. Hey. Alright, I can test this now. So I just go far away. Oh, that triggered pretty fast. Dictionary change size during iteration. Okay. It did not like that. So we need to make a copy of that. And then also, I'm gonna change the threshold here because that triggered pretty fast. So I'm gonna say 600. I don't want it triggering that easily. I didn't even go that far away. Pixel measurements are tricky. I don't know if that's the right password. That's the wrong password. Alright. Need to lean forward more again. Just gotta go down. Alright, they can spawn here. And just wait. what I think about sprite stacking, it's not very performant. That's what I think. So, you know, it's an interesting technique. You can do some cool things with it, but I don't think it scales too well. So, like, yeah, there's some stuff you can do with it, but, and you can make small games with it, but, it gets pretty restrictive pretty fast, I think, because of how many layers you need. Okay, so the good news here is stuff is despawning. It's also spawning very fast. So, I can just see the, yeah, it's pretty easy to get stuff to despawn. But that's fine for now. I can see this stuff is working, so I'm gonna update this code here to not print out 5 million things. So this is actually fine. It's over here. So we don't want that, and we don't want this. And then our eye spawns are done. So next up is calculating ping, which is gonna be interesting. I actually technically have that information, but this is something that technically the client knows, which is a bit weird, and the server needs to know what the ping is. So presumably, I guess I can put another request on the end of the time request. That's just like telling the server that it got the time. And what its ping is. I think I'm gonna do that. So, is ping supposed to be one way or two ways? I always forget this. The metric. Is ping one way or round trip? Okay, ping is round trip. Good to know. So if ping is round trip, I have to double the time. Actually, no, it just takes time. One way is half. In older versions, oh, I just noticed how far scrolled up. I thought there weren't very many new messages because my scroll bar was showing I was pretty much near the bottom. I forgot YouTube does this funny thing where if you're if you haven't scrolled down to the latest messages, it doesn't update the scroll bar position, so it doesn't tell you there's a ton of new messages. So I cannot read everything here because it's like 100 messages. So I can see. So I'll just skim through it. I have seen JDH and Randy. I don't really watch them, but I am aware of them. Alright. Yeah, I saw the Bargy Kart thing. I wanted to make my own, like, specifically Mario Kart style racing game at some point. If you look far enough back on my Twitter, I think I posted some stuff where I was messing around with drift mechanics for a top-down thing. But now I could actually just straight up do 3D because I have been doing a lot of OpenGL stuff. So if you look at my previous stream, you can see, or just my Discord server, you can see there's GIFs and stuff of some 3D stuff I've been working on. But I'm mostly using 3D stuff for other things right now. I'm working on a 3D pose tracking thing that maps it to a model right now. Alright. I'm just giving, I'm rating like 1 in 5 messages or something like that, because I don't have time to just read through everything right now. Because I have a lot of stuff I want to get through today. I only did one of the things. To be fair, well, this is the biggest one. The second biggest one in this list is the I spawns probably, just because of the way I had to test it. Is there a library like SDL and Pygame and C#? I'm actually not sure about that. I think there probably is. Let's see here. You wonder what the coding to debugging ratio is for Python and C++? So technically there's more, like, the compiler will catch a lot of mistakes you would make with C++. So some of the issues you get, it'll tell you them a bit, like, in a way that's a bit easier to spot than it is with Python. But for the most part, things are much easier to debug in Python, especially when you get into seg faults. Do you guys have that weird feeling, like an idea you'd kind of like to pursue, but at the same time you feel like you're not skilled enough to do it, so you keep it on the back of your mind? I mean, for a lot of things, if you're working on something that you already know everything to be able to do, then usually you're not using your time well, because it's better if you're working on something that there are portions you don't know how you would go about doing, so that you're learning when you're doing that. Like, for example, there's all sorts of netcode stuff I haven't looked into a ton with this game I'm working on right now, and I'm kind of learning it as I go. So you want to always be challenging yourself a little bit. But yeah, there are things that I'm, like, not ready for. Like, for example, I would like to make a VR game, but I don't have very much 3D game development experience. I actually now I know a ton of the math for it. I can do it on a lower level, but I don't know how to do it that well in a game engine yet. But that's not an issue of me being unable to learn. That's an issue of I just need to get the time to learn, and also have, like, I have other things I need to be working on that are more important, even though I want to be making a VR game. So there's that. Alright. libtcod, I've seen that. I think most of us are stuck in the roguelike paradigm. I think roguelikes are one of the best games to make, because generally they have the most replayability for the game developer. So that's cool. Well, that and multiplayer games. Alright. Almost caught up here. Once again, I'm reading like 1 in every 5 messages because I don't have time. Alright. You love how you almost missed when I answered one of your questions because you were reading chat. I mean, I answer a lot of these questions like 5, 10, 15, sometimes 20 minutes after they're asked, because of the, like, I do one thing or the other. I don't know how streamers do it where they just read chat and do whatever they're doing. I guess it takes less concentration to play a game than it takes to program, so you can pay more attention to chat as you're playing. But also, there's the factor of the chat messages are normally shorter for other streamers than what I get, because you guys are sending like fairly long messages. It's not like a bunch of emotes and like couple word messages. It's multiple sentences and stuff like that, which is much harder to just mentally process out of the corner of your eye while you're doing something else. This is one of the main problems with streaming programming in general. It's just, it doesn't scale too well. I don't know. Anyways. So, it's time to do the ping. So for the ping, what I'm thinking is, where is it? I need to do... Where would it, oh, it's not in here. It would be over in networking? Maybe? Self.sync time. Self.sync time core. Okay, so in here, this needs to send a request to the server. So it needs to be, like, grab one of these. And then, so the time elapsed right here. This is my ping. So I go ping, and I say my user ID, and I say ping, and then I say time elapsed, and then I gotta go over to here. Oh, no, not here. Here, I say, at client.callback. When the server tells me that it saw my ping request, I literally do not care. So I just pass. So I can delete those now, and then I can go over to the server, and then I need to add an endpoint for the ping. So in the player tracker, I need to have ping. Self.player ping equals that. Something like that. So I need to see actually how I handle the player list. So there's a player list thing where periodically the server sends out the list of players. I don't know if that comes in the updates or... users, here we go. This is what I'm looking for. This needs to be changed. pt.players.values. Okay, so actually instead, because of the way I'm going through the players there, I'm going to remove this and then ping that'll be our ping. So I have the public ID and the private ID here. So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go over to here and go server to endpoint ping, and I can go def ping payload. That's two E's. Def. So pt.player. It should be payload user ID. Player equals that. Player.ping. Is that what it was? Player.ping equals payload ping. Actually, let's make it an integer. Oh, that's something I need to fix over on the server. This needs to be in milliseconds, not seconds. So over here, I need to go back here and say, this needs to be by 1000 because that is in seconds by default, so I don't want seconds. We can go over here now and say our ping is that, and that's in milliseconds. And now, over here, I can say name is the username, and then ping is p.ping. And then, so I have to see where I'm using this user's endpoint. So for that, I need to go to, I think it's a periodic request in the networking thing. It's like down here, isn't it? Wait, no. Make request users, client data, so it comes through here, looking for users, username map. So that's going to be misleadingly named. So I have to see where I'm using this username map. So it looks like there's a couple places. So there's the tab menu. And then I also show it here. What is this? That doesn't... So right here. So you take that, and then I need to take name on here. So that fixes that one. And then over on the tab menu, this needs to be user. What did I use? User name. And then on the right side of this menu, I need to render the ping. So ping plus ms. Alright, so we do ping text equals this, and we say ping text, and then we have to keep in mind that there's this rect here, this 200 wide. Base location should be the left side, so the right side is plus 200, and then I want a bit of spacing, so I say maybe 2 of spacing, so 198, and then minus the you grab this and you say the width of ping text. I'm actually gonna give it 1 more on the spacing there, and then that should give me the ping information, hopefully. I do have to send over the new server code though, and as always I will probably get a crash because of something dumb. Although sometimes you get lucky and you don't get any crash, and then that's worth celebrating over. I got a crash. Cool. That was immediate. None type has no attribute ping. What? Am I sending the user's request? Or, well, in the ping, wait. I'm sending the ping in request to the, in response to the time sync. So I do need to check and make sure that exists. I was thinking that I didn't have to check and make sure the player exists because it's the player's fault if it doesn't, but in fact, the player doesn't get recreated in time. So, well, I'm gonna have to go over to server. Ping. And I do if player, then we can do that. So send the new code over again. Die. Okay. So we try again. Is making a fantasy console a reasonable goal for C++? Depends. Actually, not. Like, it really depends on your scope. Like, fantasy consoles don't have to be that complicated. Oh, I make the same mistake like every single time. I always forget to return something. Return that. I do not care what I return. It just needs to be something. All right, I have a few too many things open here. I don't need entities or events. Let's see if it works now. Why play video games when you can just mow on? Interesting. Not everyone can go outside. So it didn't crash until I tried to add a string to an integer. Yeah, that's on this end. That's an easy fix though. And I don't even have to restart the server because that's a client-side bug. Here we go. So now what would be cool is if I had like an icon for the ping. Why is my ping so high? There's no way it's that high, right? Why? Is it really that bad? Man. That's an interesting number I got there. I'm wondering, like, I don't like that response time. So my other option here is to try to hook that off of a different request. So that's the time request, which actually goes to my Flask server. So there's a lot of overhead coming from Flask. So I'm thinking maybe I need to hook this onto something else. So let's open up the networking here. What is resync doing? Is this a problem? No, it's very generic. So, I'm gonna hook this onto something else. I'm gonna... What should I put this onto? I need to find a good regular request to put this on. Technically, uses is a good one. Because it's like once very periodically. So, when this happens... Oh, but the problem is... I don't know the timestamp of when I made the request. I guess I could just send the extra information. So SRC is the initial information I sent it, I think. So if I go over into where I would make the user's request, where would I make these? It's over here. Users, time. Let's say time.time, and then I can go time elapsed equals time.time minus SRC time. I think that should work, maybe. And then I can do this. And I believe this is only a client-side change, which means I can just start my code and the server should work the same, maybe? We'll see. Self is not defined. Yeah, that's a client bug. Client. Does this have access to client? Yes, it does. Okay, let's try that again. So if my ping is less than 200, that means... Oh my goodness, I did it again. Self is not defined. What did I do? Can't do that. Do I have RT? RT.node. And then I think that should be good, maybe. We'll see. So hopefully the ping is less than 200 here. That's worse. Wait, no, it's not. Okay. It's just the first one was slow. Yeah, this is pretty reasonable. This is actually close to what I mean, it's inconsistent. And I mean, that's it's because the messages get bundled together and delayed and stuff. I need to like have like multiple networking threads so that I can have like high priority requests that don't get delayed. And I also need to like take averages or something. I don't know. Let's do something interesting. Actually, I don't know if this is gonna show my AP if I do this. I don't think it will, but I'm just gonna double check. Cool. It's only showing my server's IP, which is fine. So if I ping my server, okay, I guess my ping itself is inconsistent, but 28, 34. So when I'm saying like 30 here, that's good. With the 38's good. And then when you see the other stuff, it's because it's getting bundled with other messages, and it's trying to process everything else. So the ping just goes all over the place in this game. I can do stuff to fix that if I want to. It's interesting though. Anyways, let's get a ping icon in there. So let's go over to data images. Let's draw it here. It shouldn't be hard. So normally I think I see green in this stuff. So you do and then you can grab something like this color. Actually, it probably should be a lot darker. Something like this. That looks like a connection icon, right? Or go a bit taller, right? I can go up to like 6 pixels, so yeah, that one's fine. So I could. I don't know if should the last one be green or what. I think I like the last bar being white there. So this will be my ping icon, and then maybe I'll have like different ones for different ping, so it just kind of warns people that someone might have bad ping or whatever. So let's save this into active, light drawn, data, images, miscellaneous. Hold on, that's the wrong game. And cavers. Miscellaneous, and then this will be the ping icon. So to get this, all I have to do is go over here. Wait, here. And then it's assets.misc ping. And then display.blit. And it's going to be this position. And then I have to grab the width. Wait, hold up. Minus, I need the width of the image. Dot get width. And then I need some spacing. So let's say 4 pixels. And then base location 1 plus 4. I think that's correct. We'll see. It's probably gonna crash, as always. No, okay. So we have our icon here. I think it needs to go down 1 pixel. Just, and then we're good. And maybe to the right 1. Alright. You guys gotta stop sending paragraphs. I can't read that. Okay, so I like it. We got us a nice ping icon there. So actually, I'm not liking the fact that it moves with the width there. So I'm gonna hard code the width. So instead of doing this, where I get the width of the ping text, I'm gonna so take that, and then I can go minus I can factor it in over here. I'll say like 170. It's gonna be tricky to align. All right. So I'm gonna assume. Actually, you know what it should be? I'm gonna cap this to 999. Actually, that needs to be done when it's an integer. You can't cap a string like that. And then I'm gonna put that at 170. or one like 76. So it's not going to be right aligned anymore. Did I have a minus on the other end? No. Okay. All right. I'm gonna try and read some messages here. It's easy to forget languages. You learn Chinese, never use it too often, and forgot it. I am half Chinese, and I've never learned any Chinese. That is not the correct position. That is because... That is because I do not need this anymore. Does Python have something like dynamic linking so you can hot reload your code? You just import again, I'm pretty sure. Okay, so I can move this a bit further left. Or rather, I can move... I think it's a little bit of both. So I can move that and that. Actually, I think that should be fine. So I'm just gonna have to hit tab immediately so I can see what the 999 ping looks like. That looks good. So let's see what it looks like when it goes down. Alright, I like that. So now I need to open up another client and see how it looks like, how it looks with multiple. So I switch to the user here. So I have this, and then I have... Let's start the other one. Uh-oh. What? That's an interesting issue. UI text. Where's this being called? Name is not in list. What's the problem here? What list is it talking about? The only list I can think of is... Oh wait, it's going character there, but somehow it's got name? But it shouldn't even have name to begin with, it should be like the full username. What happened in there? Oh, I think I know what happened. I need to go to UI 70. Huh? Huh? This should be good. What's the problem here? So... Oh wait, oh, it's probably... I did this, didn't I? Yep. Mm-hmm. It shows up twice because I had to grab the width. So we restart this again. And then I need to grab my other account too. So I got like 2 things going here. Alright. They're both here. They can see each other. They can see their names. I press tab. I'm enjoying the fact that I'm on the same computer and I see this a different ping for each one, but that's just like that's to be expected. With the way I wrote my netcode. Lol. Okay, that works though. That is one of the features I wanted to add, and that is the thing now. So we're good on that. Next up, ghost bullets. This is a funny description. How many characters is this long? This is a long thing here. Where's my thing? It tells me somewhere. Oh, it's 130 characters long. Interesting. Alright. So, I'm gonna read chat real quick before I get started on this, because I have not been able to do that lately. I'm only gonna read the latest messages though. You're not going to take any more academic programming classes outside of computer science because you don't see why wasting more time learning languages. I mean, learning languages is not very hard once you've learned a few. There's so many more things to learn other than just like learning languages. It's more important to learn like libraries and stuff within languages. It's important to learn things about like your field specifically. So if you're in web development, you might want to learn about like things like Apache or Nginx and just network administration, or like if you're in game development, there's some math you could learn. If you're in machine learning, you could learn more about machine learning techniques rather than learning a new language. There's so many things that are more important to learn than languages. But I mean, in languages are, as I said, are easy to pick up once you know a couple. So it's kind of a non-issue at a certain point. All right. Do I have an itch page for my game? Which one? What? What do you mean for Zachary game? Or, oh, wait, oh, you're not talking to me, okay. Almost caught up. So people keep mentioning Monogame. I have never really looked into Monogame. I don't know much about it. Wait, isn't Monogame C#? I think it is. Maybe? It's Microsoft, isn't it? Anyways, so this is an interesting bug. This happens when bullets from other worlds due to transition. So all I have to do here is tell the client what world these projectiles came in from, and then the client can filter them out. And then this one, how is that happening? So this, why am I deleting projectiles? Change world. So you can damage something. So when you damage something, the projectile gets deleted. Where's that happening? Somewhere in here. Oh, here it is. Projectiles that remove. Okay, all I have to do here is take the projectiles code and just catch the error, pretty much. And I do. Okay, so this crash should be dealt with. So that should. There's no way that should crash, I don't think, unless it's somewhere higher up in here, like before here, I guess, where maybe so actually, now that I think about it, the server-side crash would be in the client's thread for handling responses. The server-side crashes that are a concern. Like, so if a client crashes the server because they gave bad input, like, well, if they give bad input that crashes the server, normally it crashes the thread that's responsible for handling that client. So it doesn't affect the other players, it just messes up your own connection. So if people are hacking the game and like do that, that's kind of a non-issue. Now, if it somehow gets into the main server thread, which, is that down here? That's down here. If this crashes, then that's a problem. So what I have to look out for here, I guess, is maybe I did something over here in the update. And this looks valid. The only thing I gotta be careful about is I gotta do try accept key error pass, because if I try to delete something that wait, is it also, what kind of error is it if I do a dot remove and it doesn't exist? Let's see. L equals 1 2 L dot remove 3. Is it a value error? Yeah. Try accept value error pass. So that shouldn't crash the main thread now. So now I just need to fix this ghost bullet thing. With the ID spawning, this is kind of, you're not gonna really see this very easily, but I should be able to fix it. So I want to go over to, when I send a projectile, I need to say what world it's associated with. So that projectiles are sent in the updates. So it's an update that gets queued for spawning projectiles, which comes from the entities, I believe. So down here, this creates the projectile. I guess this projectiles include player projectiles as well, I believe. So there's a couple things that I gotta watch out for here. So there's these. How am I sending this? So it looks like in the projectiles on the spawn, it probably sends a notification. Spawn. Yep. Oh, there's a projectile queue. Oh. This doesn't come in the updates. I don't think. No, it doesn't. It has its own thing. So in the queue, it presumably just puts raw projectile data. That append P, where's P come from? P is the projectile defined there. P is WID the world ID? What is WID? What? Okay. WID, where is this used? That's not what I meant. That's way too many results. Weapon ID, okay. World, let's do world equals, world equals, this has to be defined. World. So over here in the spawn, I can just take the world, and I actually have it right here. I'm just not using it. So now we have world. I just have to make sure that when I'm spawning these, like this is, I need to make sure this is the only spot that the projectiles get spawned like that. So P equals projectile, define projectile. Okay, looks all good. So now I just need to take this attribute and use it in the client to filter out new projectiles. So that's over here. Looking for right here. For projectile, if projectile world is And then this has to be the same as the player's world. Is that in state? I think that's in state. So I think its state is in miscellaneous. Right here. State dot. Do I not have... Do I really have to do this? Really? Really? Interesting. So self.nd world.seed is what I'm looking for. So make sure these are in the same world, pretty much. And then when I change worlds, I guess, the projectiles need to despawn. I'd imagine that happens. So now I need to look at the client-side projectile code. Update, render, do I reset? Okay. Does that happen when I change the world? So I can go to state, I guess, and see if it happens. It could be in a couple other spots too, though. So it could be in here. So I'll have to end you world. Download world. Yep, that does reset it. Okay, we're good. So that does get reset. And this needs to be checked to make sure it's matching. And then if that works... Oh. The main thing here is that I check and make sure that projectiles still spawn. If projectiles still spawn, I'm pretty sure the code's working properly. So, if I go to another world, it will probably hide the projectiles from this world. So I just have to go somewhere where enemies will spawn, and then if the enemy spawns, I make sure it's spawning projectiles, and then I can go over to another world, make sure it still works again, and then should be good. So I think enemies will spawn here. Maybe, maybe not. I can always just go really far down, and then the spawn rate should go up drastically. Let's see here. I'm surprised I haven't seen any enemies yet. That's concerning. But I don't think I would have changed anything that would have stopped them from spawning. So definitely like by, or maybe not by down here. We'll see. I don't think it's this way. Where are the enemies? Huh. I'm gonna get somewhere fairly low down and then I'll just wait and see if they spawn. I could be just getting extremely unlucky. So I'll sit here and then we'll see if anything spawns. Oh, there's something. That was easy. So it in fact did not spawn. That is... I also can't deal damage. So that was a crash in my networking thread on my client. That's funny. So it doesn't have self. This needs to be rt.node world. But other than that, I mean, enemies are still spawning. I just got unlucky, I think. I'll read chat once I go down again. I'm just gonna sit in a not too deep spot because I don't want to wait. I think this is far enough down. It should spawn here, I think. Alright. Do you like to program things from the ground up most of the time rather than using a game engine? You've been working on your own game engine for a while now, but it's really just for you to use now at least. Yeah, it's a lot of fun to make your own engines and stuff. But also working from a lower level is nice if you get more control. Do I ever Google things when making my games? Rarely. When it comes to Pygame, rarely. Like, I think you can look... I mean, I think there's been a couple things I Googled, but, like, not necessarily programming related. I think if you look at my last couple streams, I probably haven't Googled anything. Alright. Projectiles are still spawning. That's good. Just gonna make sure I can actually shoot this thing. I'll have to go around. Okay, so he's gonna pop out right here. And then I should be able to kill it. And another one spawned. So I have... Did I make it so that I have to go over an XP for this thing to level up? Oops. That's funny. There it goes, it leveled up. My lens rifle's now a level higher. Alright. So you guys are gonna get to see something new for this stream. I have not used the world map yet this stream. I've shown it in other streams, but not yet in this one. So, let's go to another world. Let's go to the one discovered by fish. These worlds were discovered in the playtest. So, yeah. It has names of people that were in the playtest. So in the first world, I know the map pretty well, so I can get down pretty easily. Okay, this is an easy world to go down in. So presumably, gotta be getting close to the arrow. Yeah. So projectiles still spawn now that I'm in a different world, and I can kill enemies. I can grab its item. Cool. That all works. That means I've fixed this issue. So now, next is visual effects. So this needs to be broken down into a couple things, but I'm gonna read chat first, because there's still a bunch of messages I didn't read. You like this method of games? What is the bare minimum and the simplest way to do this? Do I even need a GUI or a game engine? And then following through by doing things yourself. Actually, the simplest way in a lot of cases is to use a game engine. But, yeah. Can you re-upload your tutorials for 2022? What do you mean? Like, remake them? I'm planning on redoing my Pygame tutorials, but re-uploading doesn't make any sense because the videos are already there. That's just like spam. You can actually... I think you can get banned from YouTube for that. Game FPS, I don't know what it is. It runs fine. It's in the hundreds, probably. Alright, so yeah, this visual effects thing needs to be broken down. So, there's a couple things I need to do here. So I'm thinking we need a jump VFX, we need projectile firing VFX, we need, here, let me just delete this, projectile wall collision VFX, projectile entity collision VFX, blood/flesh VFX, for death and projectiles. And then what else is there? So there's jump, shoot, projectiles could hit things, projectiles can hit enemies. Enemy spawn VFX. What else is there? We need I guess I could have a eyeball shoot VFX. So when it spawns that circle of projectiles, it should have some burst of particles maybe. And then I think this is most of what I need. So this is going to be sparks, 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 particles. This could be an animation, but this could also be particles. I'm gonna do particles for now. Particles, and then particles. Actually, this could also be sparks. So sparks are like, if you see my games, they're usually just a white thing, like a strip. And then like has, it's like a diamond shape, but really long, and it shoots out and just gets smaller as time passes. Particles are just standard like circles of like color or whatever, stuff like that. So all of these visual effects can be broken down into either particles or sparks, and then if I implement those two systems, the rest should be easy. Not only that, but all of this is going to be client side, I think. So enemy spawn, server tells you when that happens. I can just trigger that on the client. I can trigger the particles when that happens. Eyeball shoot. This one. The server decides if this should be happening. This one maybe I shouldn't do for now, because there's not a good way to network that. The client doesn't know that the eyeball shot. It just sees all the projectiles suddenly appear from the eyeball. This one is easy. I just go by client side hit detection on that one. Same thing. These two are triggered by the same thing. They just look different. This one, client side easy. This should come from players. This is for player projectiles. This should happen from the player when an entity spawns with its I'll do based on projectile owner on spawn or at spawn during when spawn. Okay, so when a projectile spawn, you look at the owner, and then you spawn a particle, or you spawn a spark to match the angle of the projectile. And then for the jump visual effects, we can do... This one's tricky because I don't track the jumps for the other players. I think I'm gonna cut this one out for now, because I don't know when the other players are jumping. I could do it easily for the player that you control, but watching other people jump, there's not a way to tell that they actually jumped. I mean, technically I can look at it and be like, oh, the velocity suddenly spiked upward. But the problem with that is if that doesn't scale well when I add more things to the game. There's other reasons why that could happen. So what it needs to be is that the players tell the other players that they jumped, so they know to spawn the particles, even though they can see the position tracking that they jumped. So this, or thing I deleted, I can add on later. So right now I'm mostly concerned about projectiles. Projectiles and the death of enemies. Have I tried to make a game engine? Depends how you define it. I would say no, personally, because I don't define anything I've made as a game engine, but I've made some fairly extensive stuff for, like frameworks for making games. I have not heard of GoEbit engine. Alright, nice stream, thank you. Alright, so I'm gonna make a quick commit here and say, what was it? I did, eyeball, or I'll say enemy spawns, player ping, bug fixes. So the next thing is just VFX. I'm debating whether I should do this today. I mean, so I have a VR esports thing I gotta do. Like I got a tournament, or I gotta play in and potentially make some money from later today. So I've got like 6 or 7 hours until that, but I do need to practice and also get some sleep. So I'm leaning towards saving this for next week, and then maybe I could run the playtest during the stream. I'm not sure how I want to do that. Or, maybe what I'll do for next week is I'll do a shorter stream. Well, this week's also a short stream, but this is because I'm busy. Next week I'll do this, which shouldn't take too long. It's like an hour. And then I will end the stream early, and then move, like, everyone just goes over to the Discord server, and then I run the playtest after the stream next week. So I could do it like that, because if I'm in a voice chat with the people in my server, I don't want to be streaming that, because people say some interesting stuff that could get me in trouble on YouTube. So I'll probably do the playtest off stream immediately after the stream. I guess that's the plan for now. Well, not immediately, because I do have to also so normally, here, let me show you this. You guys have not seen this yet. If I do, where is it? Cavers. There, I have this. What's it decoding? What happened? That should run. Did I bug out my... did I forget to do this? Hold on. Let me making sure this endpoint exists. DaFluffyPotato.com/API and Cavers status. Why is that an internal server error? Hold on. I'm gonna see what's going on here. I'm gonna pull up my server here. Interesting. I appear to have made a mistake in when I updated my website, and I forgot about specifically this endpoint that tells me the latest version of the game. So we'll have to fix that, I guess, before the next stream. I'll add that to my to-do list. Fix endpoint. So normally I have a launcher, which I won't start right now because the website's bugged. That, like, you type in your username, your password, everything, and you log in. But I have to... The launcher can also update the game, and I have to put out a new patch for the game so that everyone with the launcher can download the new update and stuff like that. Anyways, yeah, there will be a small gap between the stream next week, if everything goes as planned, and when we do the playtest, I guess, because I will have to make the update, like release the update and everything. Although this isn't like the servers are mostly down, so it's not really fully public update, really. It's just for the playtest. But the next playtest will hopefully last for a few hours. I'll probably only be there for a short amount of time. I'll let you guys play for a bit after that, and then I'll probably come in at the end too. So something like that. So I'm gonna read the chat a little bit before I end the stream, but it doesn't look like there's a whole lot. Let's say there's no problem with shaders. Or like that doesn't. I don't know what you're saying there. If you're talking about the fact that Pygame doesn't have shaders, that's already a solved issue. I already have ways to deal with that. Have I played games from the Pygame Community Halloween Jam? Did they do a Halloween Jam? Hold on, I'm gonna take a look at that. I didn't know they were doing a Halloween Jam. Interesting. Why'd they start it so long before Halloween? Interesting. But yeah, I haven't done the Pygame community jams. I know a lot of the people involved in that, but I just don't do them. When will I complete the game? This game specifically, this is an MMO style game. You don't finish an MMO. You never finish an MMO. The idea of an MMO is you keep adding new content for people to play through. What am I using for networking? Just sockets, and I wrote my own library on top of that. Anyways, yeah, so I've been streaming for like almost 2.5 hours, so I'm gonna go ahead and end the stream here. And normally I go for about 3 hours, but I have some stuff to do today. So thank you guys for joining me.